you don't love content because it's predictable. But at the end of the day, I think that we kind of do crave predictability. You think about like every app that we use that we love. And I think that what we're trying to do in entertainment is create that same kind of trust that we have with other products that we use in our life. And so we're bringing over some of those ideas and concepts into the entertainment industry in this like repetitive creation of audio rom-coms. I think that short form content does really well in audio, where you think about the length of a pop song. Every pop song that's created today is usually like 3 to 3.5 minutes. And that didn't start because it was just like a random number that people pulled out of a hat. That started at the transition from the 78 RPM record to the 45 RPM record, where there was a physical constraint on the vinyl record that meant that you could only record 3 minutes of content. So a physical constraint led to a format change. And I was really interested in that transition that happened in like the 1940s or the 1950s happening in the modern day. Like, what is our modern day equivalent of a format change that could lead to a change in listening behavior? And so there's a ton of video content out there. I think it also is a little bit more expensive to make. It just takes a little bit longer. And I wanted to create a company that was testing on a much faster basis. And so we put out 4 15-minute stories every single week. So that just tells you like, that's the efficiency that we can create just within audio. And that enables us to test really rapidly when it comes to different types of stories. This is something that like, it really changed my opinion of like the like you said, the vehicle that we were delivering content through. I think that like now you can imagine a world where all of your favorite TV shows, all your favorite movies can be translated to audio, but not just in like a one-to-one translation, turning it into audio. I think that you have to get really creative about the way you present it in audio. There has to be like, I think it's a lot harder to capture someone's interest. So you have to be engaging in like the first 20 to 30 seconds. Otherwise someone's going to click out of the podcast, because it's a lot easier to do that than it is to like stop watching a movie. With monetization, we don't monetize any of our stories yet. So we actually haven't put ads in our stories. So like we're just trying to basically take out all the friction from the process of clicking into a meet cute as we can, and kind of create like a sense of like, this is a very new format. We just want people to learn, understand, and change their listening behavior to enjoy these 15-minute stories. That said, that's not to say that we won't move towards that. I think that we just probably need to start with things like cross promotion. We might put ads in our content at some point, or even take it to different mediums. Like, I think a lot of what's interesting about this content is if you do have a breakout story and you want to further engage the audience on it, you could imagine that turning into a longer format type of content. I have always been really persistent about the idea that we need to just create in the 15-minute audio first and build trust there before we go to other formats. But I think that, we're reaching a point where we're putting out enough stories where you could totally imagine like, oh, the series did really well. Let's take it and put it and actually turn it into a TV show or a movie of some sort. The way that I see it is that these industries kind of go through these periods of unbundling and rebundling. So, and I think that happens in every industry. It basically goes from like having a seamless experience at one location, at one place, to shifting control to the user. Because when everything is bundled together, you don't break out the value of each individual service. You just get this like shiny bundle. And like, that's great for maybe experience, but maybe not so great for cost effectiveness. So like, you think about when you can just listen to a podcast for free on Spotify or Apple Podcast, that's great for the end user. So I actually think that like, because audio is in such a nascent stage as an industry, it's like forming still, I think that the decentralization part of it is really intriguing to me, because it creates all of this natural competition of content creators. And that means that the content has to be good to stand out. You can't just bank on the fact that you're part of a network to be good. You have to actually be good because people want to click into your show and listen to you. So I think it's pushing content creators to make content that's really good. I think the experience for users ends up being a lot better, because of all of the natural competition that's created, and because it's a lot cheaper to listen to. So I feel like that we're kind of like in that inflection point where audio became an industry. It became something that people were excited about, and now we're kind of going towards that bundling phase where some of the largest players gain power by acquiring a Joe Rogan or a podcast or something like that. And that's incredible because now you have like all of your podcasts in one place. I think it's a really good thing for Spotify, Amazon, all of them. We'll see what the user experience is like. I think that like, you know, as they acquire more and more, you know, and put like paywalls and stuff like that in front of it, it could be a better user experience, but you might end up paying more, or they might keep it free. It's all still in such a early formational state in audio that I'm not sure exactly what like a year from now looks like, but I do think it's a trend that we've seen in other industries that we can kind of apply to what's happening in audio right now.